Hi guys, welcome again to my channel, Tech Talk with Baba Femi. So today, what are we going to be looking at? We're going to be looking at Azure B2B. So when we say B2B, what do we mean? We're talking about Azure business to business. Now, this is just like a deep dive course into what we term as guest user, because when we talk about business to business, so that means I'm inviting someone, or I'm inviting some users to my organization so that they can actually work with me. So when you invite users you don't create in your organization, if you invite them to your tenant, then these users are referred to as guest users. In my previous class, we talked about uh, managing users and groups, and the users we talked about was actually the work account, the users that were actually created in the tenant, which also we refer to as the cloud account. Now, after this video, I'm going to be doing another video where I'll be talking about sync users. So I'm going to be creating an hybrid environment, um, try to sync users from on-premises to the cloud. So those type of users are users we refer to as sync users. But today, what we'll be looking at is guest user, which is the Azure AD, Azure B2B, as the term. So now, what are we going to be looking at today? We're going to be looking at what Azure B2B is all about, which I've actually like explained. When you collaborate with other organization or other users, let's say you have you're trying to develop an application in your organization, in your tenant, and you need a developer. So you invite developer to the tenant, and with that, you've invited the developer to help you develop. That means you cannot do it. You don't have any of your staff that can actually do that. Then you want to collaborate with another organization, and so that's what we call business to business. So now, after then, we're going to be looking at how to invite guest users. Then we're going to be looking at Azure B2B best practices, because there are a lot of best practices we must follow when we're doing this. So then we'll move to managing external collaboration settings. Then we'll do a little bit of self-service sign-up setup. Then we look at how you can actually enable one-time passcode for guest users instead of inviting them every time. You just want them to get a one-time passcode and sign in into your tenant. Then we look at the billing model um, for external identities. Then we'll look at how a guest user can actually leave your organization even when you do not remove the user account. So the guest user can also leave your organization on his own. So let's log into Azure portal. Okay, I'm already logged onto my portal, which we know uh, all you need to do is just type in portal.azure.com in your URL, and it takes you directly into the portal. But where it takes you to is going to be the home. You might not see something like this when you log into your or your Azure AD tenant. This is because these recent resources are resources that have been accessing frequently. So that is why they are on there. Also for these services, those are the ones I've been accessing frequently. So um how do we get to the Azure AD B2B part? So that's under Azure AD Azure Active Directory. I'm just gonna click on this Azure Active Directory, then B2B is under this side, which is external identities. Also, you can actually create a guest user by click under users here. Then you click on new user and try to create a guest user. Yes, by inviting them. Also, if I go back to that blade, I can click on guest user, and I'm gonna invite the guest user. So let me just go back here and let's see external identities. Okay, so These are things we'll be talking about. At first, like I said, we've been able to explain what Azure AD B2B is, and after then we'll see how you can actually invite guest users, which I've talked a little bit about. So now to invite guest user, like I said, you can come to the users blade under Azure Active Directory. Click on new user. Let me see. Then I'm gonna click um, guest user. Please notice that some this will change. Yeah. So if creating a work account, now I have access to my domain name, which I have in a tenant. I can create that account with a domain name. But this user, it's assumed that this user is not from my organization. I want to collaborate with this user. This user have an email already. So what I'm going to do is just to click on invite user. So you notice that I don't have anything yet. So I'm going to test with this. I think this user is here already, but let me see. IT360ng at gmail.com. That's fine. Sorry, made a mistake there. So that should come under here. This is name. So I can just leave it as Chris Green, and then the first name I'm saying Chris, and the last name I'm saying Green. So you can actually like input in a personal message. Let's say um, I am inviting you to my tenant to develop a new application. So this is a personal message. I can decide to leave that out. That is optional. If you notice, this is the one that is required. That is why we have this asterisk in front of it. So if I click on invite guest user, so it's gonna invite the user. So please, one thing I need you guys to take note is, so let me just, we're gonna search for that user Chris Green. But one thing I like you guys to take note is once a user or okay, I think I've created one in the past. So okay, this is actually a cloud user, a work account, and that's why you're showing as a member. And this is the guest account I just invited. Now, if this user doesn't accept the invitation, this user will not be able to access the tenant. Please take note. Most of the questions that come like I've been invited to this tenant and I'm not able to see this tenant as one of my listed tenant when I'm trying to switch tenant. So it will not show up because you have not accepted the invitation. So you need to accept the invitation. You need to check your mail and so that you can actually accept that invitation. Now another question is people like ask this question: why is it showing est of this domain name? So this means that this account is external of this directory which is invited to, and that is what you see in here. So the creation type is invitation. Then I can say, okay, click on this. I want to see if this user has actually accepted the invitation. So you can see that under here saying invitation accepted, no. So you can actually say, okay, guy, you've not accepted this invitation, and that's why you're not able to log in. So if at some point um you know there is no way that invitation link will not expire. Let's say you've invited that user over a month and he has not accepted the invitation, so you can click on this manage and try to invite the user again. Yeah, you can do resend invitation. If I do resend invitation, I will be able to copy a link. So instead of, I can now copy this link and send it to that user and say, just try accessing this link. You get into my tenant, or check your mail again. Um, there should be another link that has been sent to you. So that's the same way we manage our main user. That's the same way we manage guest user too. The only thing is we cannot reset the password of a guest user. So you cannot reset the password. Even when you're a global administrator, you cannot reset the password of a guest user, because this guest user um, is not actually wasn't created in your account. So this tenant is not the parent account of that guest user, and that's why you are not able to manage the password of that guest user. But every other thing, you can set up MFA, you can set up um, um, tenant-wide multi-factor authentication, and this will be affected. Uh, can set up conditional access also if this guest user is using an application or device on tenant. Then you just want to have another level of authentication. Should in case in the guest user's tenant there is no MFA or the like, so you can set that up here. Now, so we're gonna be moving to what you can actually manage under the external collaboration settings. So I'm going to go back to um, that Azure Active Directory part. I'll click on external identities, and I click on external collaboration settings. These are things that we can actually see, can actually manage. Now, the first thing is um, restriction. Like, what do we want the guest user to have access to? You understand? So here I can say the guest user should have access, the same access as member. But no, I don't want to do that because of security reason. By default, we have guest user should have limited access to properties and membership of directly objects. Yes. So that is what I want um the settings to be like. So you can see, okay, who can actually invite a guest user. you know when I talked about roles and administration, I said you can actually create a role which, like, I can create a custom one and say not there is even um a built-in role that is a guest user inviter. So I don't want anyone to just be able to invite guest user. So I just want to change this to only user assigned to specific role can actually invite guest user. So I just want that user only to be able to do that. You understand? Then I pick up this option. Then I can say no one should be even be able to invite guest user because we don't want guest user in the tenants. Then I'm gonna select this option. So for me to now also instead of trying to set up guest user, inviting them in my tenant, or so that a mail is sent out to them, they access the mail, click on the link, and um, be able to access my tenant. I can set up what we call self-service sign up. So that is the option here. So I've toggled that to yes. Collaboration restriction, you can say okay. You can allow get from any domain name, but if there is actually a partnership with just particular organization, we can actually say okay, I can pick this option and say allow invitation only to this specific domain. So any other domain, any other organization, any other guest user from any other organization will not be invited to that tenant. So I think okay. So the next thing is Azure AD B2B practices. But so I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the best practices that will most actually that is recommended. The first one is for optimal signing experience, we advise you federate with identity providers. So that is what we're talking about here when you do self-service sign up user flow. So I'm gonna say these are all the identity providers. You can configure as much as you like, but these are the ones I've actually configured. So which is the Microsoft account. By default, you have this here. So you can federate with Google, should in case you are inviting someone that is using Gmail. You can. So if you have a guest user that has registered on Facebook and deciding to use that same identity that he has or he or she has on that Facebook account to sign into your tenant, then you can set up Facebook as IDP. Now, if what you want to the identity provider you want to use doesn't exist yet. Let's say you want to use G Suite or something, then you need to do a new SAML setup, then do all the proper, okay, let me say the protocols. So you need to select what protocol this is using, the domain of the federating identity provider, then you need to select the metadata method for populating. Okay, so those are um how, that is how you can actually set up an identity provider that doesn't exist there already. So when we say this, so this service self-service sign up is easier to use, so that okay, let me just say, okay, you know, click OK. Now these are something I've set up already. But if you click on these, nothing is happening. Yes, nothing is going to happen. You need to set up what we call a user flow. So on this part, the user flow is like you setting up a journey which your user will go through before they get into your tenant. So if you notice, I have a user flow already. So let me just try setting one up. Just click on if you are used to Azure AD B2C, these are things, this is the kind of journey that we create so that your users, your commercial users, can actually access your application. But this is for B2B. This is just for your guest users to be able to sign in to your tenant. So I'm just going to say test, and I can select by default Azure AD. It's selected. You understand, by default, so you cannot even uncheck it. So if I want to use this, I can say Microsoft account. Yes, I want to use Microsoft account. Then I want to use one-time passcode too, so I can select that. Now, if you see, so that means this part and this part, actually like treating them together. Then just go back here and say, okay, I selected one-time passcode. I want them to be able to sign in using one-time passcode. Now, what and what information do I want to collect from those users when they are trying to sign into my tenant? I want to know more about the user. Imagine a user that is signing in with a Facebook account. You know, let's say on the Facebook, he has no surname there. He has no given name. But these are information that I need um in my own tenant for us to prepare some documentation and the like. So I'm just gonna say, okay, when this user is coming into my tenant using a self-service sign up, then this information should be presented, should be asked from the customer. So just gonna do all these. I'm gonna create this user flow. Yeah. So this is, you cannot test this here just the same way we test um, our B2C user flow, but however, you can actually like create like an application and test with this. So this is how you can actually create a self-service sign up. So I'm gonna go back here to go to the identity, external identity. Yeah, that's for the user flow. Now there's something I'm going to talk about here, which is the billing model. Uh, okay, so I think I jumped. I was talking about the recommendation. So the first recommendation is the optimal sign-in experience you federating with identity providers. The second recommendation is you using an email one-time code. However, when you want to use these, there are things you need to take into consideration. Um, this user that is trying to use this feature must not have be authenticated to that means before. Like, let's say the user has signed in with Azure AD in the past, or Microsoft account, or Google Federation. No, this is going to be like a fresh email account just coming to Azure. You understand? So it should not be an account you've been able to authenticate with before. It's not going to work. So another recommendation is you setting up complete branding in the sign in page. You understand? So you can actually customize your complete branding. So let's say let me see. I think let me see if we can do that here. Um, okay, we have a page layout now. So you can actually customize this also. You can customize what page layout. Okay, but let me see what yeah. I'm just going to go back to the company branding from Azure AD. So when you customize this and your user is trying to sign in, okay, I have this here already. So I have this customized. This is image background you're gonna see when you're trying to sign into this tenant. This is the banner, the banner logo. You understand? So um, you need to make sure that this resolution are met, or else you will not be able to upload some of these images, or even all. So um, this is essential. At least your user can actually feel that okay, we are trying to sign into this tenant. So also one of the recommendation when you set up B2B is that you should add your privacy statement during redemption experience. You understand? You want them to like check your privacy statement of how to use the organization resources. You understand? So you just want to give them those information before um, they are authenticated to your tenant. Also, um, it's one of the recommendations that you should enforce conditional access. Like I said, we recommend enforcing MFA policy on your application, which the guest user will be accessing. Now, on the parents directory of this guest user, this there might be no 2FA, which is the second layer of authentication. Let's say once the user has been able to put in their email address and password, then they can authenticate to their application. But no, you want another level of security. So you can enforce conditional access um, for Azure AD multi-factor for these guest users. So these are some of the recommendations that you must actually follow. Okay, now we talked about the billing model. Now for the billing model, um, in the past, it has always been when you have a license assigned to one of your work accounts, then this license can be shared by um, 10 guest users, like 1 to 10 ratio 1 to 10. But now what Azure has is the billing model for external identity. Now is the fact that uh, you need to link a subscription. Then with this, your users will be able to when you to when they authenticate, they are authenticated under this MAU billing model, which is monthly active user. So once a user has authenticated once in a month, you will not be charged again. But for the first authentication, you will be charged if um, the first 50 free authentication that Azure has actually assigned to you, to your tenant, has been exceeded. Then that is the only time you'll be charged. So this is where you link a subscription. If you don't link a subscription, yeah, I've linked my subscription. The only thing is, except if I want to unlink it. So if you don't link a subscription to this your B2B external blade, then you will uh, be charged based on the the other billing model. And funny enough, can you see there is no way you can actually even use this, because this is uh no longer limited to the 1 to 5 ratio. Okay, before I tell 1 to 10, yeah, it's 1 to 5. So you need to link a subscription so that you can actually like have these monthly active users billing model. So let's say finally, let's say a user is now in your tenant, you have a guest user in your tenant, and you want to leave your tenant. So, what's how will this user leave your tenant even when you don't want to delete the tenant? So, um, this user can actually leave. So this user can actually leave by accessing this URL, which is my apps.microsoft, yeah, .microsoft.com. So when you invite a guest user, this is where they land on. You understand? This is where they land on. So let's say I'm just gonna use my own account to access this page. Okay. So I'm gonna see all the application that exist in my tenants under this my apps portal. Then I would see all the directory I've been invited to, or all the directory I have access to. So now these are all the applications. So this is where your testing your guest user will land on. So let's say I want to see how to manage. No, that's not okay. I think under here, yes. So under this side, I can see all the organization I'm signing to. So I can just click this and say yes, this is the one I want to access now. Then I click on I want to leave this organization. Then wait for it to load. Okay, don't even have an organization. I don't even have any um, application on there. So just gonna say no. Since I should change a little. Okay. Okay. So like I said, we want to leave this organization. Then this organization do not even have any application assigned to me. So I don't feel like staying in the organization again. So I'm just gonna click on under this side. I'm gonna click manage organization. You will see all the organization, all the directory you have been invited to or have access to. And this is the one I'm signing to. You need to be signing to a tenant then before you can actually leave the tenant. So can you see it's saying because this is my parent tenant, this is my parent directly, I cannot leave. So I'm just gonna click on here and say yes, I want to leave this organization. Saying yes, you will leave access to all this. Yes. So now I've left. So to rejoin, please contact admin. That means there is no way I can get into that organization again until I've been invited back again to that organization. So um, if you have any question, can you see? So that doesn't exist here again. So if you have any question regarding the guest users, you can let me know under the comment, and I'm going to respond um, to you. I'm going to add some of the documentations also that I pick some of these things out from, so that you can go through all those ones also. So if you have not subscribed to my channel, kindly subscribe and also click on the notification bell so that anytime I drop a video, you get um, a notification. So thank you so much, and I really appreciate. Bye.